How much can someone sue for a car accident in Colorado? Hi, I'm Chris Nicolaysen, the owner and CEO of Springs Law Group. And today I wanted to talk about how much can you actually sue for a car accident in Colorado. The first thing I want to talk about is the word sue and what that actually means. So to sue somebody means that you're actually going to file a lawsuit. So file a lawsuit is going to be that thing where there's a plaintiff and a defendant, and there's going to be a complaint filed to kick off the case that's going to talk legally through all of the issues of the case and what you're asking for. And so that's an actual lawsuit. It's not just pre-settlement talks or negotiations. It's actually filing something with the court where now there's going to be hard deadlines and things like that. And you're bringing another party into the case, the defendant, the at-fault driver in this case, and you're filing a lawsuit. So that's where that issue comes from right there. As you know, the word sue means, hey, we're going to file a lawsuit here. And now we're in front of a judge, and then ultimately a judge and jury at a trial. And that we're going to have to go forward with and now determine an amount that we can ultimately ask for, for compensation from that jury. And so those are the questions that we want to look at as we're thinking about how much can we sue for a car accident. And so that's how I approach. You want to start off with that first piece right there is, sue, what does that exactly mean? And what can I do with it and how serious is it getting? And I would say filing a lawsuit's some pretty serious stuff because there's court deadlines, there's discovery, interrogatories and production of documents, there's going to be mediation, multiple depositions, and finally a trial potentially, if things don't resolve by that point, a trial with a judge, and in most cases a jury as well. And where you get to present evidence and the other side gets to present evidence as well. And then they will make a decision and a determination where ultimately there's a verdict. So when we talk about compensation, we have to figure out then, what can I actually get? And we break that down into what I would call three components. We'd have your economic damages, your non-economic damages, and then lastly, and on rare occasion, your punitive damages. And so your economic damages are going to be your medicals, right? Your bills, your lost wages, things that we can put a physical dollar amount to that happen, to you that, can be paid for, your medical bills. It costs me X amount to go to the doctor. I want to be compensated for that amount to go to the doctor. Your non-economic damages are going to be your quality of life, your pain and suffering, things that we call your human damages. Things that, were taken away from you as a result of someone else's negligence and your own, and now you have injury. And so it's like the things you could do before the crash that you can't really do now after the crash, right? My quality of life is not as good. Things were taken away. I was not able to attend, my child's recital because I was at a doctor's appointment instead. Well, you can't get that time back, but that has a value to it within the non-economic damages component. And lastly, and on rare occasion, there's a punitive damage component. And that's if somebody's breaking a law so severely that there needs to be a punishment to it. It's punitive, to punish them for their bad acts. And so those come up on rare occasion, but that can be the third component of damages, which can be the punitive damages. So there are many factors though that will actually influence the amount of the lawsuit and the final, award that one can receive, within the lawsuit itself. And, those are going to be, again, your medical bills, your total amount of medical treatment. It can be your future medicals as well. It can be your lost wages. We can have things too, such as emotional distress as well. So it is a traumatic event whenever you're in a car crash. So please do not discount the emotional distress that one can be going through. And ultimately that can be a claim and it can factor into the award that you can get and the settlement that you can get and how much you can get as well. Additionally too, it's going to be things like disfigurement. So if you have scarring from a surgery, if you have a long, scar from a cut or some glass or something like that from the crash, that as well can come into play too, because again, you're not who you were today from the person that you were right before the crash either. And so of all those factors, we look at those in a whole totality, right? In a whole box together. And we want to make sure then too that each of them have their moment and that they're all analyzed together to come up with a reasonable amount so that you can receive just compensation and a fair and reasonable amount of settlement for your car accident. One of the other things too that's going to come up and that may affect your case is if liability is not admitted, so who's at fault is not agreed to, then it can be, it can become an issue potentially. So it can be something too to where the other side, the at-fault driver's, side may say, but you were partially at fault too. So we're putting this case at 90% the at-fault driver's side and 10% your fault. Well, if something like that happens, then at the end of it, then your award would be reduced by 10%. It would be taken down. So from that standpoint in the state of Colorado. So it's just important to understand that ideally the goal is you're doing nothing wrong. They take 100% liability and pay 100% out. But then that anything less than 100% down to 51%, then at that point in time, there would be an offset from your amount. If they do find that both parties equally caused the crash, so both parties are violating and being negligent, and then there's a 50-50 split, then there's no compensation. And so that is something too that's really important to look at. If you're trying to bring a claim, just make sure too that you're bringing a claim that makes sense and where liability is clear or not going to impact your settlement nearly as much as you think it would. So the reality too is that the role of insurance can have a huge play too in how much you can actually get as a settlement amount in your car accident. And so one thing you want to find out, as soon as possible is how much insurance coverage does the at-fault driver have and what kind of coverage do you have? It's important, similar to like a game of poker almost, to know like how much money's in the pot, right? How much are we actually playing with here before we make certain moves and bets? And so you want to make sure too at that point that information is power for you. And so I check and see like, hey, how much do they have? That lets me know, certain information. Check your own declarations page to make sure that you have uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage as well. So both of those things can give you power in your decision making to ultimately help decide what kind of settlement amount you can get and what is, could be your top line amount offer from the other side as well. Helps you have a predictive analysis into future thinking as you're kind of planning out what kind of chess moves to make as you go forward within negotiating with the other side. One of the things I tell people quite often is when you're in that negotiation mode and negotiating with the other side, get ready to run through an emotional roller coaster, because the reality here is that the other side is going to try to get away with paying as little as possible. They do not want to pay you money, and I want to be very, very clear on that. The other side does not want to pay you. And so just understand that usually on their first offer, you're going to walk away pretty pissed and upset because you're like, this offer is unacceptable. They're not wanting to pay me just compensation for all the stuff I've had to go through. And so it's really important that you hold your ground, have a reasonable counter offer, and come back to them without emotion. And you say, no, based on these facts, my counter offer is X, and here's why. And just give them that and don't approach it with a lot of emotion. If you are feeling upset and frustrated about it, that's okay. Feel it, but then do a response back, to the other side without any of that. Use facts, not feelings, as you walk through that process. It's very, very important. So if you've been injured in a car crash and you're trying to figure out, how much, can I get and how much should I sue for? I think it's really important that you reach out and get professional legal advice. Reach out to Springs Law Group, reach out to an attorney in your area, find someone that does personal injury specifically and talk to them, because that information is power. They can help you with an open and honest dialogue and tell you, hey, here's the direction that you're going. I think that we could help you, whatever it may be. But I am a huge believer in education. And that piece of talking to a personal injury attorney will not only, help you out, it will empower you to make decisions down the road as well. So at Springs Law Group, what we try to do is we try to assess a case from the get-go. We'll have a clear conversation with our potential clients and walk through with them, what happened. And then after that, we'll give them an opportunity to talk to one of our personal injury attorneys. Then after that, if they choose to sign up, if that potential client chooses to now become a client, we've got a whole process on how we run a case. We run our cases through phases. And the first phase that's going to happen for the new client is going to be what we call the treatment phase. We want our client to really focus on themselves and focus on getting better. And then while they're doing that, we're going to investigate from behind the scenes. We're going to find out what those insurance policy limits are. We're going to get a copy of the police report, find out who the witnesses are and talk to them if there are any, do all of that stuff behind the scenes, all while our client is getting better. Then what we're going to do too while they're treating is we're going to reach out every 2 weeks and just say, hey, how's treatment going? And is there anything that we can do to help you out? Are you having any issues with treatment, with the doctors? Is there anything that we can do to assist you or help you? And that's a 2-week checkup while you're treating. Once you're done treating, then the next phase is going to be records. So we're going to order all of your records and bills and make sure that we get those and have a clear record of everything that happened so that we can send those off. And then after that, we're going to prep your settlement opportunity letter and get that sent out to the at-fault insurance company. And when we send that out, we're going to give them an opportunity to settle the case. And we give them a period of time to review everything with all the records and the settlement opportunity, and then they'll come back to us with an offer. And then so now we start negotiations. And then with negotiations, you're going to be an integral part of that, where we go back and forth and then ultimately can come up to a reasonable settlement amount where you as the injured party get paid, the attorney's office gets paid, and then all the medical providers get paid as well too. So we think that's very important too. But all of that happens only with your information and your consent. We don't settle cases without our client's consent. And we think that's really important at Springs Law Group to make sure that the client's an integral part of the negotiation and settlement amount. So the reality here is that how much can you sue somebody for a car accident in Colorado? It depends on a lot of different factors. But if you have a team of people behind you, it's easier to make that decision. So if you have any questions at all and found this video, kind of percolated a few ideas, feel free and reach out to us. You can go onto our website at springslawgroup.com, or you can give us a call at 719-300-7554. We're happy to talk to you and just give you some info. We're happy to just chat, see if we're a good fit to have an attorney-client relationship. Just let us know. But ultimately, we do believe that knowledge is power, and the more information that you can have to make an informed decision, the better off you're going to be. It's important to us that we work with people that are a good fit, and we want you to feel like that we're a good fit for you as well. So please make sure you reach out and let us know if you have any questions at all, as we're happy to help and chat with you. If you have any other questions, check out our website at springslawgroup.com.